What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another alpha midnight video. This is for Resto Druid. We're going to take a look at the tree. I am on just enough Advil, cold, and sinus right now where I can talk without sniffling the entire time. So we are going to make a video, and then I'm going to go to bed. Let's talk about Resto Druid and heading into midnight. What has changed for them? What's being added, yada, yada. There's some good stuff on the class tree, first of all. Really quickly, there's a nice little Mark of the Wild buff that's being added for all of the Druids in general. There is a new bonus with Lycaria's inspiration. You still get Lycaria's teachings up here. You're still getting that 6% haste when you're in human form. And then you get 4% increased magic damage when you have no form as well, which kind of good, I guess. Doesn't really matter. There's a new Heart of the Wild thing. I don't really understand how this works still. We'll figure it out. I guess you just get one powerful off-roll ability. So if you're in human form, I don't know if it just picks a random one. I haven't tried it yet, but somebody can tell me in the comments down below. Everything else is relatively the same. You are getting additional points that you can put into this tree, which is really nice. When I played Resto Druid, if you guys were following me on Twitch, when I was trying my Resto Druid kind of arc, I did this really kind of wacky Keeper of the Grove burst Resto Druid build that I loved. I fell in love with this build, and it involved Keeper of the Grove, and we got the Dryads as the tier set bonus. Those have been baked into your hero tree. Now we'll get to that in a second. Blizzard has, as a part of all of the healers, the whole healing sort of rework that's happened is that they're all getting pruned, and that includes Resto Druid. There's lots of abilities that are getting deleted. There's a bunch of talents that have been removed. And there's a shift in focus in the spec tree. Let's talk about the pruning really quickly, because I think Resto Druid's pruning has actually been really good compared to some of the other healers. So, for example, you get Tranquility still, but you're going to have Flourish now underneath Tranquility. It's going to be a part of Tranquility. So, Trank healing is actually going up by about 40%, but you're losing the heal over time. On Trank, it's somewhere up in here. But anyway, I just read the notes. So you're getting 40% stronger, but it's not going to apply a heal over time, which means you lose a mastery stack from it, but it's not the end of the world. And then you're getting Flourish. So Tranquility extends the duration of all of your heal over time effects by 2 seconds for every 1 second of channel time. Excuse me. You channel for 6 seconds, so you get 12 seconds of increased hot duration, which is pretty insane, right? You can combo that in raid with like Nurturing Dormancy, of course, to have your rejuves proccing additional duration if they get to max health. Lots of really good stuff there. Very, very cool. Okay, so that's one of the biggest prunes that they've done, I would say, is that they've included Flourish into Tranquility. Your Efflo is now included in your Life Bloom, which is awesome. I think this is actually really great. You don't have to press Life Efflorence anymore. You just press Life Bloom, and you refresh your Life Bloom, and it just keeps putting your Efflo down for free, which is awesome. And the healing goes up as well. Grove Guardians are now baked into Swiftmen and Wild Growth. That's another consolidation. Instead of having a Grove Guardian button all on your own, you just cast Swiftmen or Wild Growth, and you get a Grove Guardian, which is really nice. And then they've also put Power of the Arc Druid, which was the proc that you got. So it used to be when you cast Wild Growth, you had a 60% chance to then get, here it is down here, 60% chance to make your next Rejuve or Regrowth cleave onto 2 additional targets. Very nice. Now, it's just a guaranteed, there's no chance, it's just guaranteed that you'll get the Power of the Arc Druid effect after you get Soul of the Forest. So they're kind of combining the 2 effects into one. And they're making it proc off of Swiftmend instead of procking off of Wild Growth, which is actually really good because you can get 2 charges of Swiftmend, and you can cool down Swiftmend multiple different ways, which is really nice. So there's also another talent over here. The cooldown of Swiftmend is reduced by up to 40. This talent, Renewing Surge, just got way better because Swiftmend gives you Soul of the Forest, which then gives you Power of the Arc Druid. Swiftmend also gives you a bunch of other procs, of course. They proc your Grove Guardians, as I mentioned a little while ago. You're going to have more healing. That gives you a Reforestation proc as well. So pressing Swiftmend is like really important now. It's really central to the kit, and you need to be cooling it down somehow. I think talents like Renewing Surge are going to become much, much more important. And potentially going Keeper of the Grove is going to be better as well, because you get cooldown reduction from Dryad's Dance. So you also get about 30% additional Swiftmen healing 20% Swiftman healing right here, and another 9% right here, which is really, really good. And then you can also grab 1 second off the cooldown of Swiftmen from early spring. So a big shift in emphasis onto Swiftmen. Big shift, I would say, onto Swiftmen. And that's cool, and it's good, and it makes Keeper of the Grove a much more desirable talent hero tree. For that reason, which is super, super cool, okay? There's the Tranquility buff right there. Here's a new really big, massive buff. Mastery Harmony now increases your healing by 11.4%, was 6%. They essentially doubled your mastery. Your mastery is doubled now. So the effectiveness of your mastery has gone way up. And talents like Harmonious Blooming now have really big benefits. Because you can put a life bloom on somebody and suddenly you have 11, 22, 33, let's call it 35% more healing on your other hots that you put on that person. And your other hots are also going to add additional stacks of your mastery as well. So really, really strong potential bonus here just from having life bloom on somebody, which is super cool. Speaking of life bloom, there is no more double life bloom. So the choice node here, sorry, the talent over here, Undergrowth, is gone. You don't get 2 life blooms anymore. And photosynthesis has been changed. So you don't get the benefit of life bloom on yourself and the benefit of life bloom on an ally. Basically, they just kind of combined it together and said, whoever you have life bloom on, they have an 8% chance to cause it to bloom instead of a 4%. So they doubled the chance. So pretty good, actually. I think photosynthesis is looking pretty strong. Very, very nice there. Look at the notes again for a couple of other big changes here. One of the biggest changes that I want to get to is down here. So wild growth and regrowth healing are now baseline way stronger. And what they've done in the talent tree is that they've reduced the power that the buffs that you can get give to those spells. So the baseline regrowth is now just way better, 70% stronger. But nature's swiftness effectiveness has gone down. But that's okay. You'd rather have it that way, right? You'd rather have the baseline spell be very strong, and then the buff spell that you add to it be just like a nice little bonus on top. But instead of being reliant on a nature's swiftness timing to save somebody's life, your regrowth will basically just be able to save their life on its own, even if you don't have that anymore. So that's really nice. Like, it's actually really nice. We lost 2 charges of nature's swiftness. We had that right up here. So that's gone now. We only have 1 charge as far as I can see, unless I'm blind as a bat. And then you still have the bonus to nature's swiftness here. And then you're getting, of course, as I said, the Swiftmen. Swiftmen is really becoming a more central piece of everything for Resto Druid, which is really nice. They cut regrowth heal over time in half, but really regrowth is about the upfront heal. Rejuvenation is more about the heal over time. So you want to have both of them on your ally. But if you're talking about the value of regrowth, I would not worry about the hot being reduced. It's not, they're not reducing the amount of the hot, but they are reducing the duration of it. So slightly less mastery scaling, if you know what I'm talking about there, right? Slightly less value there for mastery. My apologies. That's all that I want to look at, I think, right here from these notes. We'll get to the Apex talents in a second. There are some new talents that have been added that are really, really good besides the consolidation that I talked about before. One talent that they got rid of that I'm very, very sad about is Dream State. So Tranquility used to have a talent called Dream State underneath of it where you could get 20 seconds off the cooldowns of all your other abilities. So like Convoke, Swiftmen, Nature's Swiftness, your Grove Guardians, which were something you Ironbark, you got to cool down all of those spells with Dream State. That is gone now. I understand why they got rid of it. You either pick Flourish or Inner Peace now. It presented a complex sort of skill ceiling where you would want to use all of your abilities and then trank to get them back. And you might end up tranking at like an unoptimal time just to get your other cooldowns back. So it's like, is that a good use of trank? Probably not. I understand that. So they got rid of it. I really would have liked for it to stay around because I loved having cooldown reduction. I thought it was really fun, but it's gone. What isn't gone, though, again, is Power of the Arc Druid, which was central to kind of the burst healing build that I was talking about. And then they've added some new talents. They put Ysera's Gift down further in the tree here, as well as Waking Dream, which is kind of whatever. Don't really care about that too much. We have the Efflo coming off of Life Bloom, and then we have some really powerful talents over here. So Swiftmend healing going up by another 30%. Again, Swiftmend is a very central piece of the puzzle now, and if we type Swiftmend in again here, Swiftmend, if you're playing Keeper of the Grove, suddenly you have 20 plus 9, so you have 30% more healing from here. Then you have 30% more healing from here. Suddenly your Swiftmend is hitting really hard. I'm assuming that's going to be 60% multiplicative. So it's 850% and it goes up to like 1400% or 1500. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. It could be additive, I guess, but we'll have to wait and see. Either way, you can make your Swiftmend hit like a Mack truck and just deck somebody, which is really cool. Gives you some triage options there, like better than it already is, right? That's new. Underneath of it, we also have this intensity. When regrowth critically heals, it is 300% effective instead of the usual 200. That's disgusting. You have this talent, of course, improve regrowth, which says if you already have regrowth on somebody, then you have a 40% increased critical strike chance. And then you're going to heal for 300% more instead of 200. So your regrowths are just going to be decking people. And the Power of the Arc Druid talent is still here. Like I said, it procs off Soul of the Forest. So you go Swiftmend into regrowth. You now have 3 regrowths on people. And then you could individually regrowth those people again if you wanted to. And it's basically guaranteed to crit. And the crit is going to hit for 300% instead of 200%. And then the final piece of this is Nature's Bounty, which says regrowth heals all other allies with regrowth on them for 30% of its healing. That's insane. That's insane. Because your Soul of the Forest can buff your regrowth by 60%. That buffed regrowth hits 3 targets. Those are all very likely to crit for 300%. And then all of that healing that you're doing splashes to anybody that has regrowth already on them. So there's a very clear line of talents that you can take that all create a really powerful triage sort of build that might be really good in Mythic Plus, probably terrible in Raid, I don't know. But the point is that this exists and it's very cool and they all synergize together very well. And if you're running Keeper of the Grove, it's even better in my opinion, because here's why. Here's the new line for Keeper of the Grove. Let me talk about Wildstalker really quick. Wildstalker is just getting the tier set bonus. You get more blooms, they explode, and you get free explosions. It's the exact same as what the tier bonus gives you. Kind of boring, whatever. Very strong, though. Wildstalker is going to be super strong, just like it is right now, okay? Keeper of the Grove is getting the Dryad back, but in a different way. So the Dryad spawns, just has a chance to spawn from your periodic heals. Like your periodic heals will make your next Swiftmend proc a Dryad. It does a 10% trank, which is lower than what it does right now, I think. But it does a giga-juiced regrowth. 540% spell power regrowth. That's massive, okay? Baseline regrowth is 470%, okay? So you're getting a juiced up regrowth, which is really nice. Apologies. That regrowth, of course, can critically strike if you already have a regrowth on somebody. And then again, it'll be 300% stronger and it'll splash on other target, right? Like the same idea there, which is really cool. Then you get Swiftmend cooldown reduction, which again fuels this entire build. Swiftmend is the fuel. It's the log that you're putting on the fire. And it causes the fire to just go crazy, which is really, really cool, right? It procs this, which procs this, which procs this. It's just really crazy, right? And then the final talent here is that you get a brand new effect, which is that Iron Bark summons a Dryad, a different Dryad. It doesn't proc the other stuff that the other Dryad procs, as far as I'm aware. This is a different Dryad, okay? To channel a beam of nature onto your target, healing them for 3,600% spell power. That's a lot. That's a big number, okay? So now Iron Bark cooldown reduction becomes really important. You can cool it down by 20 seconds, which means it's a 70-second cooldown instead of a 90-second cooldown, which is really good. This just means that you can Iron Bark somebody in a triage, a moment that requires triage. You Iron Bark them, you give them the DR, and then you just get this beam from a Dryad that just full heals them, like no matter what. So you can fully take care of like one person, which is a really nice triage option for Resto Druids, in my opinion. Something that they don't always have, right? So this is really cool. So now you're seeing Resto Druid is really getting a lot of triage options. We have 2 Swiftmens that are proccing Soul of the Forests, that are proccing regrowths if we want them. You could do rejuve as well and do like a really big ramp window in a raid. But you can proc regrowths. Those regrowths are critting for 300% and they're splashing to other people. Lots of big triage healing going on. You have Iron Bark, which channels a beam onto somebody that's going to completely save their life. And you still have cooldowns like Convoke or Incarn, but Convoke is another good like burst option, which is really cool. All of this kind of works together to give you some more tools to handle triage, burst healing. I like it. I like it a lot. Now, does that mean that you can't play like a normal Resto Druid? No, not at all. I'm not saying that at all. You could do it with Keeper of the Grove, but you could definitely do it with Wildstalker, right? You do Wildstalker, you get your hots rolling on everybody. Your mastery is like double what it was before. You've got Rejuve, you've got Germination still. You have Rejuvenations that are proccing additional duration. You have Flourish, which extends all of your Rejuves. Imagine if you took double Swiftmen in a raid. You go Rejuve, 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 and then you go Swiftmen, triple Rejuve, Swiftmen, triple Rejuve. Because of the power of the Arc Druid. Now you have like 10 rejuves out. You go Wild Growth, Regrowth, Trank. And the Trank flourishes everything for 12 additional seconds, by the way. 12 seconds. Rejuve's 15-second duration baseline. Now it's going to be a 27-second duration. And then you take Nurturing Dormancy and it continues to go. Like you could have like a 34-second rejuve on like 10 people. Like disgusting. So all the stuff that I'm talking about, does it mean that Resto Druid is not going to play the same way that it always has? No. The normal way to play Resto Druid with kind of the Wildstalker and the Exploding Blooms and all that, it's still going to be there. It's still going to be really strong. It's just going to feel a little bit different. And I think that there's some really good synergy now with Keeper of the Grove, better than there even was before. And it gives you some more options that really just push you into Swiftmen synergy, right? If I type in Swiftmen while we're looking at Keeper of the Grove, look at how many things light up, right? The Dryad, the extra cooldown reduction, the extra healing, the extra cooldown reduction over here. Like there's just so much synergy with Swiftmen. This is what this tree is now providing for you. It is providing for you a benefits to Swiftmen, and Swiftmen is fueling your entire build. That's what's kind of going on. Does that make sense? That's where I think Keeper of the Grove is now going to become very, very powerful. Okay? Those are basically all the talents that are there. There's a lot of other stuff that's here is the same as that it was before, but definitely a massive amount of consolidation, right? Tranquility is casting Flourish for us. Our Efflo is casting from our Life Bloom. Our Grove Guardians are casting from our Swiftmen and Wild Growth. That is all just happening without us having to press any additional buttons, which is super, super nice. The Dream Petals are still completely useless. I think Blizzard needs to buff these. Please, Blizzard, buff the Dream Petals. They're kind of terrible now. The DPS build that I had going with Call of the Elder Druid and Dream of Cenarius still exists basically the exact same way that it did before. So you can go into Boomkin form, let's say, and you have like, you can proc regrowths really quickly with Power of the Arc Druid, right? And then that's going to proc a free Star Surge. You press Star Surge, that puts you into the Call of the Elder Druid, which gives you Heart of the Wild, right? And then you're doing substantially more damage, and you're converting all of that damage into healing because of Dream of Cenarius and Master Shapeshifter, which gives you even more damage. So you're also getting all your mana back. It's this really cool moment. I love this build. It's my favorite way to play Resto Druid, and it is still going to be alive in Midnight. You're just going to have a much more consolidated set of action bars, which I think is fantastic. Nothing wrong with that at all. Swiftmen is becoming a much bigger priority for Resto Druid, and I think you have all the tools that you're going to need to do triage and healing over time, which is really good. Finally, let's look at the Apex talent. It's all about Life Bloom. Life Bloom stacks every 5 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. 30% of Life Bloom's healing splashes to 2 allies within 30 yards. You're also getting the splashing from Verdancy, by the way, still. Don't worry about that at all. You can have really big, like, Verdancy splashing, and then Life Bloom splashing, and then you have regrowths that are splashing, 3 regrowths that are going on, and they're splashing, they're healing. Lots of, like, cleave splashing going on. Finally, we have this. Life Bloom bursts into a blooming frenzy when you consume Soul of the Forest. Wow. How do you do that? You press Swift Mend. It's all about Swift Mend. Life Bloom bursts into a blooming frenzy when you consume Soul of the Forest, causing it to bloom 5 times in rapid succession. And remember, we still have photosynthesis, which means it can be blooming while it's blooming. Does that make sense? So really, really cool. I think this Apex talent thing is really nice. Gives you some nice like cleave healing, but once again, it is going to be all about Soul of the Forest, and what procs Soul of the Forest? Swiftmend does. So I think there's a tremendous amount of value now in Keeper of the Grove with the Swiftmend synergy. Other talents that give you Swiftmend cooldown, like Renewing Surge and Dryad's Dance, for example, I think are very, very strong, and you're going to want to look at them. Having 2 charges of Swiftmend seems like a really good idea because of all the extra procs you can get. It's looking really cool, guys. I actually think Resto Druid is looking very good, and when it comes to like the overall pruning or consolidation of talents, it makes sense for Resto Druid. A lot of the other healers, the consolidation that has happened does not really make that much sense. It feels bad. For Resto Druid, I think it feels great. It's efficient. It's awesome. It's looking like a great healer in Midnight. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you so much again for putting up with my little mini flu here. Thank you for watching. Let me know everything you think down in the comments, and I will catch you guys in the next one.